So I was tagged by the wonderful Bert, Big Bert from Tasmania, fellow Aussie, to do 5 things you did not know about me. I'd previously done a Q&A and I'd answered quite a few questions, so I wasn't entirely sure what else I could talk about that you guys didn't know. But I think I've thought of a few. So, let's take a little jaunt and I'll see if I can tell you 5 things you did not know about me. Number 1. I was born 9 weeks premature. I wasn't growing inside mum, and they weren't entirely sure why. They never worked it out. So they decided that my best chance for survival was to be born prematurely. And in '87, when I was born, they hadn't really perfected the art of delivering premature children, especially when I was so small. I was born 896 grams. I'm not entirely sure what that is in pounds. I actually think it might be under a pound, or just on a pound. I don't know, we'll work it out. It's on the screen now. Anyway, they didn't really know if I was going to survive, but they certainly knew that I wasn't going to survive if they tried to keep me to term. So, yeah. And as a result, I'm kind of tiny. I'm an all-round small dude. And brain function-wise, everything worked well. I was part of a study at the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne until I was 6 years old, from the time I was born until I was 6 years old, for premature babies, to see if it had any negative effects on my brain development. And apart from being classified as a precocious little shit by the psychologist, they said that I was fine. So that's lucky. Number 2. I used to have quite a number of facial piercings. Some of you might have noticed that I've got 2 plugs in my ears still. I don't really want to give them up, but I used to have my nostril pierced, my septum pierced, which is sort of like a bull ring nostril thing, my lip pierced, and I think that's about it. Yeah. A sort of sub part of that fact is that I have 3 tattoos. I would have more, but they're bloody expensive, and there is not a tattooist in the place that I live. Number 3. I am the youngest child of 3 people in my family. I have 2 older sisters, and they're quite a bit older than me. One of them is 11 years older than me, and one of them is 8 years older than me. Mum had me when she was 37, and I was, quote unquote, a pleasant surprise. She did not think she could have any more children. So I kind of grew up without any siblings around me, because my 2 older sisters had moved out of the home when I was, pretty young. Man, wonder if that camera was even pointing at me. Number 4. I learnt how to do HTML coding very early on in the whole web development saga that is now kind of a redundant skill due to site builder things like Wix and Squarespace and what have you. But when I was a young teenager, actually, I learned how to code websites from scratch using HTML and CSS, and a bit of JavaScript too. And aside from that is that I also know how to code Visual Basic, which is a programming language. And I did do a bit of that in uni as an elective, but I'd already sort of dabbled myself earlier on in the piece when I learnt HTML. Just for fun, for funsies. It's not a skill that I use nowadays, but it's one that I definitely have. So that's a little bit of information there. Whether or not it's interesting or not is entirely up to you. Number 5. I haven't always lived in rural Australia. In fact, I was born in a major metropolitan city. I was born in Melbourne. Lived there for the first 18 years of my life, and then moved to Newcastle, New South Wales. And then my wife and I decided that we wanted a bit of a sea change, or a country change. So we moved out to the sticks, and I've been here for probably 9 years now. I love it. I don't think I'd move back to a city anytime soon, just quietly. Really enjoy the slower paced life out here. The quick access to the bush. I used to have to drive 2-3 hours when I lived in Newcastle to be able to access camping and fishing areas the same caliber that I can literally 10 minutes down the road from me. So yeah, it's pretty special. So yeah, that's 5 things you probably didn't know about me. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you to my new subscribers. Thank you to my existing subscribers. And if you watch my videos and you haven't subscribed, consider doing so. You might like to, you might not. No pressure either way. Just have a think about it. Another pain in the bum about living rurally is that it's going to be really annoying for me to be able to source tyres for this bike. They're annoying sizes anyways, this particular motorcycle. Holy shit. Like, I was looking it up the other day, and there's only a few makes of tyre that actually fit the front more specifically than the rear, but both are not easy to come by. So that's fun.